to hello and welcome to hour 11 of the Gooners versus Cancer Pod-A-Thon. You've just finished watching a retrospective, which I made when I was very tired last night. So it contained about 8 of the same clips played over and over and over again, apparently. But this is the special hour where we have people from Australia and England and just all kinds of mishmash of people here who we love. And so by way of saying hello, let's first talk to Gabriel Mallard. Is it like the duck?
Mallard. You were close. You were close. It's a French name.
So Gabriel, and may I call you Gabrielle or Gabby?
Go for Gabe. Why not? Gabe works, doesn't it?
Gabe is someone who I met back in October of last year. If you watch the Arsenal Vision podcast live from Victoria's Tavern, you understood what people were saying and enjoyed the podcast experience because of this man. And
I do have to say that was an editing masterclass by you there. That was excellent stuff. I love the Guitar Hero mic that you've managed to travel around the world with and do all those interviews with. That's beautiful stuff. The repeated videos, just for emphasis. Top work. Hold on. I didn't mean to actually play it again. I was falling asleep at the computer while editing that last night, and so it's not shocking that I ended up with things like over and over and over and over again. Max, live from Australia. Actually, Gabe's in Australia as well. But Brisbane, Max? But you're not Brisbane, Max, correct?
No. Here in Melbourne. Hello, boys. How are you? Hello, Steve. Look at the size of you skinny little fucker.
No, it's ridiculous. I'm now the fattest guy on the podcast, and
wow. I wouldn't recognize you, Steve. I'd walk past you. I'd still call you a name. It'd just be a different name.
Yeah, it's no longer fat cunt anymore. It's less fat
skinny
cunt.
Yeah.
And I believe Steve's having a couple of audio difficulties, so he's getting set up. So we're going to bring back in the one, the only Mikey Herz. What has happened to where now I can't get the? Oh, I know what it is. Hold on, I got to get this banner off. There we go. Now we're big. Mikey's back from his break. I appreciate you coming back. So Max, just finishing up. The last time you were on the podcast, I think you broke up with Fergus. I asked
Arsenal and heartbreak.
I asked him the other day. I was like, "Have you been on with? I mean, have you do you get on with Max? Like, have you talked to him lately?" He's like, "I haven't talked to that guy for years." And I'm like, "You talked to him last year on our podcast." It was like exactly 1 year ago. It's like, "Oh yeah, well, I haven't talked to him since then."
I think it was the comment on the podcast. I think it was the subsequent trolling of everything that he put up after that from both you and me for a defined amount of time. I think that probably was the straw that broke the camel's back. No, I still love Fergus. I chat to him online.
Posting love notes on his LinkedIn probably wasn't the best idea.
And if you ever need a car in Essex, there is only one used car salesman to go to.
There's only one.
And that man's name is Fergus.
And he does it because Max tells him that's what he does.
I'll tell you what to do.
Oh God, I love it. Steve, are you ready?
I'm here. I just had to switch my mic out. Obviously, it's like 6 a.m. here, and I'm a 28-year-old man who now smokes on spicy leaf, so I'm fucked. But we're raising money for cancer.
Steve is very tired as well because it's so skinny that he just doesn't have the reserves of energy.
I'm wasting away. I was thinking the last time, obviously, you did the 24-hour. I was out in my taxi because I remember about 3 o'clock in the morning we tried doing it and it was just not good. And then we saw the sunrise.
We saw the sunrise over the cliffs of Dover or something
like
that.
It was Ramsgate, which is not as extravagant. Which actually it's better than Dover because Dover's a real shithole. But
Aaron Ramsgate. As we have begun hour 11 out of 27. I mean, we're not yet halfway through. I want to remind people to. I gotta add the little crawl at the bottom, as we call it in the industry. In
the industry, Mikey,
in the porn industry.
What kit number is that, by the way? that you've worn today?
Oh,
I've lost count of how many
I was like,
times
I don't
you've
put
switched.
numbers on kits. Yeah, this is probably number 6, but the fourth one that I haven't had to change because of urine.
Oh, sweet. Good record. All
yep.
things considered.
I think it's pretty good. Where is the? Here we go.
How many chairs? How many chairs have been broken in the making of this podcast?
This chair supports a portly man.
So not the same sort of
years.
chairs as they have at Highbury.
No, they do not have these kind of chairs right here.
Mike broke the chair, man.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
Mike broke the chair.
There's no better voice for that.
Yeah, Ola is awesome.
Than Ola's voice. That might have no, that wasn't the night. I was gonna say, Gabe, that was the night of the Arsenal Vision event, but it wasn't. I think that was like the night before the Villa game, or it was the night of the Villa game, something like that last year.
I think I'm still hungover from that night, to be honest.
Jeez, who was it?
That was big. That was big. I do remember Andrew from Arsblog buying us all a kebab at about 5 a.m.
Jesus,
excellent work.
There's
excellent.
no better.
Man's a legend.
There's no the only thing better than a kebab at 4 or 5 in the morning. And if you were here for the last hour, you would have seen towards the beginning of my video, 5 a.m. chicken from Royal Farms is the next best thing. I mean, there are, as I said in the thing, there are a lot of chickens. 5 a.m. chickens are the chickens that you want, I believe, is what the wise words I gave. Do they have Royal Farms in Australia, Max? You'd think like Royal might be like it's a thing that mostly is in Maryland, here in the United States, but because the monarchy is kind of still a thing over there in the Commonwealth. Do they have Royal Farms? No, they just have beer.
Isn't a big thing in Australia. Chicken's a big thing in America. You get a bit of dirty bird over here. If you're drunk enough, you might eat some KFC. But the late night food of choice in Melbourne.
I'm sure you've been involved with a few dirty birds after a few drinks.
I have been involved with a number of dirty birds, Steve, as you and your mother know both very well.
Oh no!
Hey! That's Wednesdays only. She had to help bring me up, man.
WednesdaysOnly.com.
Yeah, we promise not to speak of it in front of you, Steve, but our love is pure.
Nothing pure about what you're up to, man. So Gabe, let's kind of start with you. Let's learn a little bit about your Arsenal background and what you're doing halfway across the world. Have you been imprisoned, and that's why you're in Australia?
I have been sent over, for stealing a chicken. Actually, aptly enough, I was sent over on the boat. I'm here now. It's lovely. It's warm, and the guards are nice. So, my Arsenal support in life was quite recent, really. I started watching football when I was like 15, because I've always had glasses, so I've been massively blind. Picked last in every event at school, so it was like didn't really like it very much. Parents went into football, but then got FIFA 2010, and that was it. Learned all the players, and I was like, right, because I was always an Arsenal fan from when I was young, but I never knew any of the players. Started watching the Arsenal, started going to the games. Me and a mate, Steve, who's in a wheelchair, we went round the world. I pushed him around the world. We watched Arsenal in China. We watched just loads of sport. I've got my LA Gooners top on.
Excuse me for a second. Is this Sebi's wife right here? Is he on the wrong account, or is his wife now cheating on him with us? I don't know.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, how do I enlarge that picture? Because I don't think I've ever seen a picture of Sebi's wife before. Sorry, Gabe. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. Yeah, so currently I'm just on holiday, mate. Because as you well know, you might have seen me just stressing out my eyeballs at all the last Arsenal events. It's been super busy.
Yeah, you didn't look too stressed the last couple of times I've seen you, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, to be fair, you only saw me in the bar afterwards, so that was like post-stress.
So it's a work hard, play hard thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you work solid for 3 months, like every day, 18-hour days, and then you come over to Australia and you sit in your girlfriend's mum's house on a 24-hour podcast.
Exactly. I mean, that's how you do it. So, so we are working together. I don't think it's premature to say I've been talking about it just in theory this entire couple of last weeks, but working on making a fantastic opportunity for anyone in the London area on Friday, September 2nd. It's wedged directly in between the Villa home game, the closing of the transfer window, and the away game at Old Trafford. On that Friday evening will be some sort of a gathering / panel show / live podcast. And Gabe, I hope you haven't watched the live shows I did in Baltimore and in Orlando, because those are examples of how to get a great show of, like, if you're standing 5 feet away together. But if you're any further than 5 feet away, including in the bar at the event where you couldn't hear anything, how not to do the production values.
Yeah, the idea of a live show that isn't really a live show. I've seen these kind of things before. There's something happening over there behind all those people. Yeah, no, hopefully we'll, we've been speaking to a couple of venues and we've got somewhere really cool that's looking like it's confirmed. Should be 100 people capacity, maybe something like that. They've got a nice bar. It's not too far from North London. It's like just a little cheeky bus ride, but you can get the tube there. It's gonna be excellent. And
it's Brixton. Crossed, I mean, just come out and say it's Brixton.
It's not Brixton. It's not Brixton. Never go south of the river, guys. Remember that. Never go south of the river. It's gonna be maybe Dalston kind of area. Oh yeah, Big Steve's band. We'll get Big Steve's band down.
So Steve.
Well, I mean,
no idea.
I don't know if you can afford the full band, but you maybe me on my own.
Oh yeah, all right, nice.
We are we accept donations in kind.
September, did you say?
Friday the 2nd of September. Max is planning his flight right now. And he's gonna leave that kid of his that he had on our podcast.
Anything to get out of the most locked down country on the planet, the most locked down city on the planet. Anything to get out at this point would be good, because fuck Australia.
And I will not have
COVID. It's easy to get in though. They will let anyone in, honestly.
Yeah, anyone. You can't get out. I will not have COVID when I go to London, which is great because I have it right now. For a guy with COVID though, lovely. I'm hanging in there pretty good in hour 12.
Again, Mike? When did you find this out?
When I got home from Florida. I mean, like, I was in Florida hugging people in a crowded environment. Those are like, if there isn't a more like, you could almost see the COVID walking around Orlando last week. So many people I know that were on that tour have it, are thankfully not overly sick from it, and just kind of happy that it didn't happen to them while they were there, or at least that they didn't know about it until they got back. But so yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, we are the panel's coming together. I know Ruth Beck will be there. I know I've been told Sophie's going to be there, which is great because she's not in London all the time. We're working on a couple of ex-players. I know a couple folks who tend to be broadcasters are not in control of their schedule, but we're going to work on Perry hopefully, and just make it into a situation where you're not coming to see me do a podcast. I mean, my God, you don't want that. You're coming to see some folks that all assembled in the same place is a pretty cool evening out. And we'll do it in the name of Gooners versus Cancer. And Gabe has offered his services at an agreeable,
very agreeable, sir.
Very agreeable.
Very agreeable.
More so for me than for you, probably. But but yeah, it's gonna be a great night no matter what happens. And my son's seen it, my daughter's seen it. My wife is now going to see how strange it is that this man who lives in her house most of the time is actually well received by people over in London. So it'll be neat. But now, Steve, my God, we talked an hour or two ago about the concept of Olivier Giroud having a vagina, but you might be hotter at this point. When do you plan on saying, okay, I'm done, now I'm going to start eating again?
Well, no, see, this is the thing. So since November, my weight is sort of slowly. Well, I'm 182 pounds. Well, I'm not 182 pounds. That's what I've lost. I've lost 182 pounds. But it's sort of slowed down and fluctuated between sort of 182 and 190 since sort of mid-November. Because of this little thing called the munchies, which somehow doesn't matter that I've got 80% less stomach capacity than I can during the day. And so my problem has been, you know, a little bit of a bad habit but also the fact that I struggle to eat solid food, standard foods. It just makes me feel uncomfortable and groggy. So when I'm busy all the time, I don't want to be eating something that's making me feel shit afterwards. So I'll just save it to the evening. But then what I am eating is a lot more calorie dense. However, in that point, I've still lost. Huh?
Just drink Guinness. It's the best of both worlds, Steve. It's a meal in a can.
Nah.
He's right. If you're pregnant,
so yeah, so even
low calorie.
Yeah, even though I fluctuated, I've still lost 5 inches around the waist in that time. So I'm still getting smaller, but my weight has sort of stayed the same. So it's just now about kicking back on.
Have you gained
the thing is, my target now
on your knob?
Yeah, I was gonna say when you said you lost 5 inches, I just
visually. Can you see your buddy?
It was. Well, I mean, I always could, you know, just.
Because of the pure length of
but
it,
it's like no, we're not having a discussion on a podcast that's supposed to be about raising money for cancer. And
sure we are.
We can divert a little bit. Let's not talk about little Steve. Let's not talk about little Steve. You know.
Well, which one's Big Steve now, and which one's Little Steve? Because it's all about perspective.
Well, Max, only me and your mother know.
Quote of the day.
Right. No. So yeah. So I've got a bit. But my target now is less weight related. And next season, I want to be fitting into an extra large Arsenal shirt as opposed to a 2XL. And last season, 3. You know, I want to next August. I want to be in an extra large, like comfortably. So I'm starting to sort of focus less on the weight moving down, because I know that even when it's fluctuating and sort of stagnant, I'm still getting smaller. So
when the surgeon was laying out what the next 5 years of your life would be like, was he using Arsenal jersey sizes as medical terminology, or like the first year
that's the actual chart.
The first year you'll go from not being able to buy a jersey to a triple XL, then you'll go down to an XL, then you'll go down to one of those fake Chinese XLs.
The Fergus XL.
They run a little tight. They run a little tight.
I bought a jersey from Korea a while back, and I bought a medium, and it was like a child's large.
Yeah.
I think
they're awful.
Once you get to Korean large.
Have I told you the story? I mean, I know I've told it on the podcast, but like way back in 2006, I was trying to lose some weight, and I was starting from a way lower weight situation than I am right now. But so I was using like Arsenal shirts as kind of my walking, you know, my sweat in a lot type of things, and I didn't want to pay £100 or $100 for each one. So I went on the Chinese website and I bought like 9 of them, and I got like names like Chamak and Walcott and stuff on them. And it's some of the most embarrassing purchases. Arshavin and that sort of thing.
That is cold on Walcott. That is cold on Walcott.
The Walcott one I might have done through legit means, but you know,
okay until you said Arshavin.
I'm like, well, what
on that?
I'm like, these are $15 each. What am I going to lose by having Arshavin on it? This was after his 4-goal game when he was already sucky.
To be fair, he was the size of Mike by the time he left. So.
He was. That's true. And so I order like the largest one they have, and you know, I try to put it on, and it rips in half. And so I email the Chinese company with the child labor and the not caring about giving refunds, and I give her my height and weight and my phone number and a dick pic, and I said, you know, I've worn XLs or double XL, whatever, and they've never given me a problem. And they're like, yeah, you know, I think I was like 6'2", 225 at the time, which I would kill to be right now. or I wasn't even 6 foot. I've never been 6 foot. I don't know why I just said that. I'm like 5'11", 230. She's like, honestly, that's a little bit too much baby fat over here. Maybe lose some weight and the shirt will fit. And I'm like, that is a business that doesn't care. That business does not care about a Better Business Bureau rating. That's for damn sure.
It would have been more impressive if they would have actually made you like a custom, tailored.
It would have been like,
shirt, you know what I mean? Like
just raining all the little kiddies.
Yeah, everyone get together. We got a project.
Everyone get
and
it.
they ship it over in a piano case, like they buried that guy.
Yeah.
In.
You go, what size? Right. You know the tents we also make.
I'm only surprised he answered.
What portion of the Great Wall of China should it be able to cover? So Max, I know that you guys are like 14 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast. So I'm going to assume that you know how the Palace game is going to turn out already.
We are in the future, Mike.
Yes, without spoiling it, please tell me that we win.
I don't know. I think I've become accepting of pessimism,
of mediocrity
over the last couple of years. You know, like I'm comfortable with it, whereas I feel a lot of Arsenal fans, they're not comfortable with it. You know, they feel the need to look at pre-seasons and take some kind of direction out of pre-season. I don't take
pre-season was good though.
Yeah, but who gives a fuck? I remember when Chuba.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Chuba Akpom looked like fucking Ronaldo in a pre-season. Right,
never,
so I'm
did.
not
right.
You know, I've thoroughly enjoyed from that. What I do now is from the end of every season to the start of every other season, I boycott Arsenal. I go on an Arsenal holiday, right? I mean, transfer news, everything. I don't watch pre-season. I go on a massive Arsenal holiday because those of us who create content would understand it's incredibly draining. It's incredibly draining constantly talking about Arsenal and constantly dealing with, you know, a divisive fan base and losing and having to like get up and do a podcast and be entertaining or winning.
Especially in Australia. In Australia.
You know, getting up and even actually watching the games, Gabe, to be able to get the content out, to be able to do stuff. So I take this big Arsenal holiday. And my one thing that I've said after last year that I'm going to follow through this year is that I just don't give a shit about results anymore. Like I do, like every fan, I care about results and I want to do well, and I get upset when we don't do well. But what I want to do more this year is just enjoy being a fan and enjoy being part of a community and enjoy seeing names on shirts that I like, you know, Erdegaards that I like and Sakas that I like and these players I like, because for so many years I've looked at players in the team and I don't like them and I don't like watching us run out. And then on top of that, I've got to deal with the poor results. So I'm just really having like a big emotional clear out this year, because for me, this fan base, it has enough emotions for everyone. I don't want to add to it or draw on it.
To back up your point about preseason not meaning anything, I think Granit Xhaka has looked excellent this preseason. That means that it can't be real, surely.
Red card, Crystal Palace.
That means that it cannot be accurate.
So I arrived a few years ago where Max is, as far as I and again, sounds horrible, and because I know fans hate hearing this, but like I've accepted that the landscape of football has changed, and Arsenal, it's not early 2000s. That's kind of the way I look at it, right? So I don't go into the expectations of, let's say we could win a treble, right? So, but I will say, Max, the way the season played out last season, they roped me back in, man. They roped me back in, and I cared, and
Every
I cared
time
hard.
I get out, they pull me back in.
I was out, dude. I was in the clear. I'm like, Europa League, who cares? Let's play it. And then we were floating around that third and fourth spot. Damn it, dude. They brought me back in, man. It was hard.
Mike, I think our last couple of podcasts were named like, we're going to win the league. Fuck Arsenal.
I love it.
It's going to happen. It's all over. You know, you go through this like this process of motion. And the thing just coming back to the first game is, if you think back to the ebbs and flows of last season, like from the first 3 games of the season into pulling that back out and then looking like we were really good into going through a flat patch into Thomas Partey basically hitting form and, putting the team on his back into him getting injured and then it all crumbling, January transfer window, excitement of January transfer window, disappointment of January transfer window, happening exactly what most of us thought would happen, that we would tail off towards the end of the season. I guess what I'm getting at is loading myself up into this first game against Crystal Palace with expectations is just no good for anyone. And you know what? You walk out of there with a 0-0 draw. The first game isn't going to define your season. We know from seasons past that a lot of preseason is about fitness and we know from sports science that different loads at different times, that they get people fit at different times. They can get through. They have to change those loads when you start bringing in Europa League football. All of this very convoluted
saying
stuff.
Loads with this panel. You just can't.
So many loads, Mike. So many loads. But I'm just not. I guess I'm saying I'm just not loading heavily onto the Crystal Palace game.
Mike, are you loading heavy, Mike?
I think we have a lot more to gain in this match than to lose, which is strange. But we win this match, and I don't know, especially if we win it convincingly, it is going to be almost impossible for literally anyone to naysay Arteta, Edu, this whole thing. It's going to be very, very difficult. However, if we lose the first game or draw, unless it's just some embarrassing thing. You'll have the normal people's knives getting sharpened, but we're used to that. I don't think the positive folks, the people who are optimistic, I don't think that they suddenly flip-flop and say we suck again until we lose the following week to whatever shitty team we play.
I think now if you're online being like the standard negative, guy that just badmouths Arsenal, I think you stick out like a sore thumb. Like my timeline has just converted completely. Not only, look, even with the way the club finished last season, but including, North London Forever song, including the players that have been arriving, like Max said, they're not pricks. These are actual players, a lot of them from our youth setup that you actually like. Like Mike, something that a lot of people know about me, I've mentioned it a lot, is like my last kit that I bought with a name was Fabregas. And after that, I was like, never more. Like, I'm done with
mine was Birdie Me.
Birdie, yeah. And I got to that point where like
my last 4 have been Walcott, Wilshere, Welbeck, and Ainsley Maitland-Niles.
I'm like years old.
My two names have been Lacazette and Gibbs. So
I've never had a name, but if I was going to get a name, it would be on any.
So the time gap for you, for you guys to know, the time gap for me was Fabregas to Ødegaard. Like I took a long time off, like a very long. Yeah, you got Mikey with the Chaka. You gotta love it. With the 29.
29.
29. Yeah.
That's my
Mike
only saving
early
grace is
adopter.
that I didn't know any better back then because this was like right when we signed him. So
fun fact,
29
Mikey
was
and I.
an estimation of quantity of red cards that he would receive across.
at that time,
He's only had
I
like 4, hasn't he, in his time here? To be fair,
I
yeah,
never-
78 yellows that add up to that many.
I want to know where he ranks in Arsenal history for red cards.
probably not that high.
I think someone did this. Someone did this on one of the bigger podcasts, and his
Just behind
foul
Vieira.
rate wasn't actually wildly high, and his yellow card rate wasn't wildly high per game.
And he's never gotten
No,
two
no,
goals.
it hasn't
They're
been the
costly,
quantity
aren't
for
they?
Xhaka. Hasn't been the quantity for Xhaka. It's been the timing
The
of
cost.
those cards.
The time, yeah.
Have all
I
just
think
been,
also
and penalties
people
given away.
conflate. People conflate the penalties and the just horrendous bits of defending, like giveaways that lead to goals. They just think it.
And the fact that
think
it's
of it as a
cards
red
marked.
card because it's cost us.
And the fact that his cards marked. It reminds me of being at school.
Yeah.
It's like someone made a noise. Teacher's back was turned. They just turned around and yelled.
I mean, the penalty in Emery's kind of slide into 5th place. That one, I guess that was that against Palace as well, or it was a home game.
so.
And then
I think so. He just went,
Was it Palace that
nuts, and
Mustafi
it was
decided
Palace.
was it Palace when Mustafi decided I'm not going to defend anymore and they beat us?
We actually
Unai?
I played a video with the Benny Hill thing of the last couple of Palace games, and we got like a copyright strike, so I'm not doing that again. But But
what's going to be interesting this year about Xhaka though is if he plays, and based on our squad makeup, I'm assuming that Xhaka is still going to be one of the starting eights. There's not really any excuses left for Xhaka at this point in the first quarter of the season, because so many of the excuses have been about him being exposed, him not having willing runners, him getting boxed in, it becoming too compressed around him
having to cover left back kind of.
Absolutely. I know there was a stat last year showing that he covered the most lateral distance, so across the pitch of any Arsenal player. So we're going to find out really quickly this season if it is more sum of the parts. And someone put in the comments before, Xhaka's technique and his nutmegging people and stuff like that. We've seen that from Xhaka before. We've seen groups of games from Xhaka before, 3 and 4 games where he's looked fantastic. It's always been between his ears that's been the major problem, whether he can stay sort of in the moment and connected. So it's going to be interesting with what looks like a striker that suits the exact system that's trying to get played, how he sort of operates within that system.
I think the saying is a rising tide lifts all boats. And just because one of those boats is like a 2-pound blow up dinghy doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's still up it goes. But it's going to pop at some point. But
that's how divisive he is, though. Because like we saw the Euros, right? We saw him play for Switzerland. And if he wasn't an Arsenal player, a lot of Arsenal fans would have been, holy shit, get me that player ASAP.
And that's why you never buy players from international football, because the game is slower, it's less athletic.
James Rodriguez.
Look at Patrick Schick. Look at all the hype of Patrick Schick.
Arshavin looked like a superstar. Torreira looked like a superstar in the World Cup.
Who was the Golden Boot Euro player who fucking Liverpool bought for a fortune and he was shit?
Are you thinking of Everton? It's James Rodriguez. Are you thinking?
No. Going back the same year Rooney broke through. What was his name?
Shit. Let me see.
Anyway,
Carroll.
Shit.
They spent the shit of money on Carroll.
By the way, I didn't know this.
I
didn't know this about Stephen. I always thought his last name was Feely, but apparently he changed it to Canoe. His name was Stephen Canoe, which is weird. And then he changed it to Feely, which is also weird. But boys, I found something that I want to share with you. It is the email from 2010 where I said, "Dear Maggie," and I'm sure that was her name. I would like to know what you will be doing to replace the jerseys that do not fit me. I am 5'11" tall, which is 1.8 meters. I have weighed myself today and I'm 225 pounds. Oh my God, that was so long ago. Which is 102 kilograms. The triple XL adult size jerseys that I ordered do not fit at all. They are way too small. It is not an inconvenience. It is a complete waste of money, and I expect as a normal size person that the largest size jerseys will fit me. I would like to know how it will be replaced, or I will be processing the credit card charge through my credit card company, protesting the credit card charge. So she emails me back. Hi, Mike, you can keep it, and we will refund you the product prices now. 1 minute. Honestly, 102 kilograms is a little baby fat here. Normal weight for 180 centimeters here is 80 kilograms. Should have mentioned this on the website. Sorry for the experience.
That is actually
gave my money back, but called me a fatso in the process.
She called you fat. She called you a fat cunt with a hard T.
I was gonna say, if she would have just replied, define normal. And just define normal.
Size?
The worst part of that email is how indignant I was, because I think that before that email was an exchange where she apologized for the inconvenience, and I'm like, it's not an inconvenience, it's a waste of money. And then
I love the fact that she tries to play it down by saying it's a little baby fat. It's like, no, you are rather
like
little bit. She cares about your feelings, Mike.
Yeah, it's like little bit knock, little bit little baby fat. At that stage of my life, I was a little more sensitive.
Inconvenience, he was referring to your weight.
Yes, well, it's a massive inconvenience now.
I just want to swing back to something, right? After the good results in pre-season, everybody is saying, and I say the same every season, to an extent. Everyone says, don't worry, it's just preseason. It's just preseason. Yet last preseason, when we weren't scoring goals and we looked shite, everybody was taking that as face value. We went into the Brentford game, and as shocking as that was, first game in the Premier League for them, first game of the season, we had half the squad out with COVID. It was never going to be an easy game for anyone in those situations. And yet everybody was like, oh, well, we were shit in pre-season. We're shit now. Arteta's got to be sacked by next week. Doom and gloom, based on the pre-season and the first game. So this season, hold on. If we go and smash Palace 5-0, are we going to say, Arteta's got to stay for the long haul? This has got to happen. These players are the best. Are we going to win the league? Because
we beat them like 5-1 in the first game of a season a few years back, and Danielson scored a worldie, and then we were shit.
Well, the thing is, what I'm saying.
You can tell Max had some scars on him still.
I don't remember Danielson ever scoring anything.
No, I don't remember
Danielson scored a worldie, a top corner worldie against Everton. Mark me, someone.
But these arguments, right? It's all online, and I know it's mad because it seems a bit maybe contradictory because we're talking to each other all online. Right? I'm not vilifying online fans, but it's always the same people who shout the loudest. If you speak to any of us on the phone, or we go to, the preseason in America and we meet up and have a chat, everyone's going to be saying the same thing. These are the smart fans. Everyone's going to be saying, do you know what? It's just preseason. We're looking good, but it's just preseason. And the same dickheads every year are going to come out online, and after we win the first game of the season, they're going to say we're going to win the league. And after we lose the first game of the season, they're going to say Arteta out, Edu out, sack the manager, burn the club down. Like I just don't think we can take any notice of them. And
that was an
I ain't got the energy.
Gabe.
I don't even entertain them.
I really wish it was an over exaggeration what you're saying, but I know that it's true.
It is.
I know that that's the reaction.
You don't get any retweets for going, wasn't the greatest performance, but fingers crossed for the next one. Do you know what I mean?
I'll tell you, Gabe, how I know that. I'll tell you how I know that, because every once in a while when we have a really bad loss, Max will tag me in a really well thought out tweet, sometimes two. Wow.
Yeah,
and nobody gives a shit about it because he's not calling a player a cunt.
He's telling the truth. He's analyzing it as an analyst would, and he's not throwing the words out and super fan and evening anywhere. He's like.
Yeah. I mean, we all know. There are some people around the sphere who may have platforms and may not, and do. We don't have to go too far down that rabbit hole. But I'd like to think that most people we speak to, we engage with, have a brain. Exactly. We do big events. What the 900, nearly 1,000 people that turned up to the Arsenal Vision Arse blog, event. Mate, you didn't hear that negativity anywhere. You don't hear that from actual fans. And this whole and you see people tweeting about it, going, "Oh, fans of this." I hear Arsenal commentators calling other Arsenal fans the worst fans in the world. It's bollocks. Yeah. It's just bollocks. Yeah, it's just a couple of loud people online, and that's it. What
gets me is just how many idiots follow that.
Steve, this is what you get at the kind of gatherings that we're talking about, that Gabe's talking about. What else?
Is that the Clapham Grand?
That was a night. No, that's the Union Chapel.
Oh, yeah.
Packed full of people.
Nice. Right, that was sick.
With production values, compliments of Gabe. I mean, one of my favorite nights.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was beautiful. Even though I have not adopted that song, Mike, I'm still resisting it. Can I say Max?
I interrupted Steve before that.
Fighting a losing battle here, Mike.
Hey, Max was absolutely right.
I'm with Mike.
What a rocket from Nelson.
Yeah, I'm with Mike a little bit on the song, right?
So you are now as a musician. As a musician, is it just jealousy? Because you could have been
No. See, that side of the thing is the reason I really like it. Like the Lewis Dunford's cool, man. Like the song in itself is an all right song, but I love the fact. What I like about it is the fact that everybody has just taken it, and this guy sort of seemingly came out of nowhere. He's an Islington lad. He's written a song about Islington, and a club that is based there has gone, yeah, we want a part of this. But
here's another
the song
version.
itself.
Here's another version from the Tolling Group.
Was that Oscar?
You could definitely tell which establishment could serve beers and which establishment couldn't serve
I was going
beers.
to say, you
Compare
could
and
tell which
contrast.
one everyone was pissed in.
Yeah, well, that was
Steven just summed it up.
after the Everton game, the last game of this season, which was 2 days later after the event. No, it was the next day after the event at the Union Chapel. After we closed down the Tollington, they closed the doors, they bring everyone inside. You can sneak another beer in while you're there, and yeah, there were people just singing with less musical accompaniment that time. But yeah, Steve, I mean, I again, it is interesting, and I haven't gotten your view on this as a musician who I think kind of sings similarly soulful kind of and composes your own music and stuff. I mean, it isn't so much about the song.
I mean, I wish I wrote it. Yeah, of course, I wish I wrote it. But
Steve, I have a question. Steve, now that you're not fat, has your voice changed?
Yes.
That's a genuine question.
Yeah, no. I've had this.
So
we call it baby fat around here, Max. It's baby fat.
It hasn't changed in terms of sort of tone or anything else, but obviously sort of breath control has returned, and I think where I was always pushing to sort of get my voice better when I was heavier, now that weight has gone, I just feel it's sort of a lot stronger. So yeah, genuine question, and a few people have asked me this. They're like, no, you're not as big. Does your voice change? It's like, when I think about it, yes, because I had to try and compensate for the lack of breath beforehand. Oh, I've got a visitor. Yo, what do we think of Tottenham?
Shit.
Yes.
Well played.
Well
lad.
done. Well done.
There you go.
He's 8.
Beautiful stuff.
But
Saying that in the playground,
but yeah, I think it has changed a little bit, but mainly just because of being able to breathe.
So speaking of being able to breathe, we have a couple of things that we need to do here. Before I forget, we need to get your top 4, bottom 3, and then we're going to bring in our next guest for a slight crossover, which I'm hoping will not go completely astray. But top 4. In fact, let's just do it now.
Shit.
Here he is.
Fergus and Max.
Hello.
Together.
Fergus.
Hold on.
mate.
Max, can you afford a can you afford a car yet?
Yeah, no, not
Is
quite.
it used?
But when I can, Fergus, I'm going to get straight on to Fergus Motors in Essex. I'm going to get. I hear you might even help me out with finance.
FergusMotorcars.com.
Listen, this is a really random thing. I'm on tea. This is because this has been going on for hours. I think it was 1 a.m. I finished watching this last night. I've had about 5 hours sleep. I probably feel more absolutely knackered than Magic Mike. It's just been
the lack of sleep is gets to be a help sometimes. You go to sleep for a little bit and you're finished. So let's do real quick. Let's do a top 4, bottom 3, and a out of left field prediction from each one of you. I have no idea what you're doing, Fergus, because we can't see that.
Oh! You can't see. Oh, Jesus, I have to be careful.
He's pointing to Salesman of the Year award.
Employee of the month.
It is nice, isn't it?
Most 3 Series cars sold.
That's very nice. That is very nice.
That is. That's
I'm drinking Arsene Wenger's favourite cider. It's called Scapegoat.
Guys, All or Nothing is out today. All or Nothing is out today.
No, it ain't. It's out
Is it not
tomorrow,
the
Steve.
second?
Come on.
I thought it was out on the second.
No,
I take control of this room.
the debut party.
I just got really hyped.
The debut party is on the second. If you listen to what the gerbil said, it was that the debut, the event was on the second. The actual thing comes out on the 4th. And we've heard, if you were not here, 10 hours ago, we've heard from someone who's watched the first 3 episodes. Episode 3 kicks and loops you in.
I just really hyped myself up then, thinking it was out, and I was going to watch it after this before work. And now I've got to wait till Thursday.
Steve, I've sent my wife away to Cornwall. She's going on Thursday. 3 episodes of All or Nothing. Then I'm at the Palace game. Then we got football all day Saturday. She can come back on Sunday. I need Sunday.
Isn't that the night that you're taking home a dwarf? Where were we talking about? Yeah. Oh, sorry,
He just borrowed Tsar from Troops.
Did I say that out? Who is a funny guy, by the way. He was in Orlando. You couldn't miss him, really.
Surprisingly,
yes. Gabe, top 4.
Hello, mate. Right, top 4. I'm going ham. I reckon it's going to be Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Man United.
Okay. Kind of a more traditional top 4, if you will.
Yeah. I reckon this is the one season City are gonna sack it off.
Yeah, no one's got City below second until you. All right, your 3 relegated teams in any particular order.
Tottenham, and Tottenham. I don't know.
Love it.
Premier. I don't even know. Literally, I've been so out of the loop. Let's have a look. I mean, currently, as it stands, with 0 points across the board, Tottenham are in 18th. So,
yeah, they are. And
I mean, it looks quite good, to be honest. Tottenham, West Ham, and Wolves going down. Why not? I'll take that. I'll keep
their first match is a massive 6-pointer.
No change here then. Tottenham, West Ham, and Wolves. Those are the teams that are going
I'll take
down.
that all day long.
I like this Gabe guy. Except for one thing, Gabe, you need to improve. You need to improve us a little bit. We got to go number 1.
Gabe, have you ever considered purchasing a BMW?
Fergus seems to be the guy to talk to about that.
Yeah, I wish I had that video clip. I'm going to try to upload it while we're doing this, but Gabe, now
my face is a picture.
a clip, or not a clip, a prediction that is kind of out of left field that you think could happen, but no one really would expect.
Oh, all right. I'm just going to go for a player from the Arsenal squad will be excommunicated, a la Aubameyang, Ozil, Torreira. One more player from the squad, potentially Maitland-Niles, but that is hearsay, will be excommunicated and will be sent into the fires of Mount Doom or whatever it is that he does.
Not Bellerin. They're going to pay Bellerin off, aren't they?
No, Bellerin's going to go.
Ending the contract.
My money is on Pepe if that happens.
Ending the contract is not what you're talking about necessarily. It's like
it's the but you're still in the squad. Yeah. Same as Ozil. Kind of, he loves it, man. Arteta loves a little smashy. Get him out. Kind
another
of
Arteta freeze out. We have that called then.
Yeah.
Max, your top 4.
I think there's a very real world where Chelsea and Manchester United both aren't in the top 4 this season. So I think City most likely to win it. I think Liverpool, there's a few miles under the tyres, a few miles on the clock. I don't
Fergus,
know.
Is that right? Is that right, Fergus?
Is that how many miles? Yeah.
Couldn't possibly. I'm moving electric now.
Yeah, I think with Liverpool, I think they've got a couple of players. They're going into that slightly older age bracket. I think they'll drop off a bit. Unfortunately, and I always get fucking killed in the comments for this, but I think likely Tottenham to finish 3rd, Arsenal to finish 4th. But that's because I don't have this same mentality that everyone has that Tottenham are always fucking shit, because They have finished
They
above
mostly
us.
are.
So they've finished
Right.
above us so frequently, and I don't think at this stage we've done enough to bridge that gap. I think we've done enough to come up on par with a few of these teams. I don't think we've done enough for me to unequivocally say we've done so much that we've gone beyond them. Now, if we were to sign another midfielder, I would flip that. So that's basically where I'm at. If we were to sign another midfielder and if we were to sign probably left back cover, I'd very much flip that. But those are the two places I think we're going to fall down. Also, I just think having the Europa League football is very difficult to finish first, second, third with that kind of schedule. Bottom three, I think Everton are getting relegated. I think this is the year Everton get relegated.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I mean,
amazing if that happens.
yeah,
Love to see Frank go
their
down.
squad is shit, and Lampard is not a good coach. So, I'm just going to go with that right away. And look, I think Southampton are probably due. If we look at the cycles and the way they've been hovering, I think they're more moving towards the bottom of an arc, not the top of an arc. And then take your pick. You know, one of the guys who have come up, maybe Fulham. Leeds, good shout, could go down as well. I think Leeds could go down as well.
Well, that so you have Leeds, Fulham, and Everton.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my out there thing that could happen is for Man U to finish in a worse spot than they finished last year. I think that club is fucking cooked.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
when will
that's
they
what I'm
understand what they need to do?
Fergus. That's what I'm
I was
thinking.
rooting so hard for West Ham final game of the season.
Guys,
I wanted
when
them in
an-
Conference League so bad.
When an Aussie says it's fucking cooked, that is a really fucking bad thing. Like that is bad. That is really fucking bad.
Gabe, that's polite for him. You want to see him on his Facebook.
Ah,
Everything
fuck,
starts
mate,
with a C.
fuck.
Yeah,
Get on
I
it.
really think we could be looking at Man U getting worse before they get better. They were the nightclub that I used to run in Melbourne hosted them last week. Hosted Man U last week. They're over here for games. They got fucking booed in their own VIP booth in this nightclub, right? Because they rolled up with like Maguire. They said, "Oh, we're bringing top players." They rolled up with Maguire, McTominay, and some fucker I'd never heard of before in my life. And they got booed in their VIP booth, and it went all around on Twitter. Heaps of people filmed it. So I don't know. Fuck Man U. I think I hate Man U more than I hate Tottenham these days. For some reason, I've started to hate Tottenham less and hate Man U more.
I do, and I think it's a generational thing, at least for me, that the way I view it, because a lot of people that are older than I am hate Liverpool, and Liverpool, I'm kind of like, whatever. But I grew up during the period I was supporting Arsenal when I growing up.
Yeah, Liverpool was in the
United
doldrums then. But yeah, if you started
Exactly.
watching in the
So-
80s or 90s, Liverpool was in the 80s or 70s, I should say. Liverpool was
dominating,
I
right?
think I enjoy us beating Tottenham more, but I enjoy watching Man U lose more. I don't know.
Yeah, that
I
makes
get
sense.
what
You
you're
know what I
saying.
enjoy more than either? You know what I enjoy watching more than either one of those two?
Chelsea losing.
But Max, because we haven't gone to you, anything you want to say to Fergus and Steve before they ship out and we bring in Mikey Herz back
It's
in the
morning
house?
time in the UK.
I just wanted to say for a start that Fergus looks unseasonably tanned, and he must be doing really well in the used car trade, whatever the fuck it is that Fergus does, because he's obviously
I'm
gone
not a
and
used car.
Sunday.
I work in financial services.
You work in whatever I say you work in, Fergus.
Carlo.
And for Steve, there is never any excuse for half and half scarves, especially when you're dancing around your bedroom naked with it sort of sweetly draped
been
across your
naked.
tits.
And it wasn't in my bedroom.
No, don't do that
wasn't
image again.
And it wasn't the half and half. So you're triply wrong. But
Well, if I remember correctly from those very early Guns and Yellow Ribbons podcast, Fergus, where that story came up, I was never, ever, ever sober, even margin.
Holy shit! I did not realize that. I did not realize that Mike came into the end of that.
Wow.
It's literally the same grouping plus Gabe.
And there was two Steves on there. There wasn't one Steve. There was two Steves.
Oh my god! Yeah, there were two Steves.
But it's crazy though. It's crazy because you think last year when I came on that podcast, everyone was saying the same as they are now. Fucking hell! Look at the size of you now. Look,
I'm not going to play the whole thing again, but I wasn't even looking at this. Yeah. Check it out again. I'm going to play it again real quick. Or just let Max. Because we haven't gone to you. Anything you want to say to Fergus and Steve before?
That's what baffles me. Like, that's what's really hard for me to process. Is like, I look at pictures from a year ago, and I'm like, fuck. But then at that point, I looked at pictures 6 months prior, and I'm like, fuck.
But you know what? You know what's even more surprising, Steve? Max is
Uh-oh.
sober.
Max is sober.
Currently sober.
Steve, I'm exactly the same with my hairline, mate. So me and Fergus.
Your hairline looks fine.
There's just never.
Did I used to have all of that?
There's never been a better time comment where everything just got quiet around him, and he says, "You do exactly what I tell you do for a living." And that was the greatest thing. I fell in love with Max at that moment, and
I haven't spoken to Max for a year.
I told him.
Yeah, it used to be years.
The thing people may not understand, Mike, is that like Fergus, myself, and Steve, like we go back really far to like very early
We go back to before podcasts had video.
Yeah, we go back to very early unprofessional podcasts.
When
So
you used to
there's
podcast
a
on
lot of-
Prodigy.
There's a lot of like very old like in jokes between us, and like old friends can sort of get away with saying certain things to each other. But
If you do like old-fashioned podcasts, go onto your audio platform. I think it's episode 62, which is Arsenal had just beaten Tottenham at Wembley.
drunkest
And Aaron Ramsey.
fucking podcast, drunkest
It's
podcast
filth.
in history. Steaming
So
piss.
it was 12:30 in the afternoon. I'd sat with a Tottenham fan watching the game. Started on Carling because of session beer and so on. I went, oh, this is crap. Went on to the Moretti. Well, we had about 8 or 10 pints. I was absolutely ruined. And the WhatsApp chat one, should we do a podcast? Go, no, guys, I'm really drunk. I can't do a podcast. Really, Ferg? Really?
Never
really?
stopped me before.
It didn't stop me.
It was,
and
it was so unfiltered.
I had no,
wasn't it?
I had
was
no
great.
filter. No filter.
Man,
We had
I saw
Manny.
you and Dan Potts doing one of
Christ.
those not within the past 12 months.
Well, that
Fergus,
was Leeds away.
yeah, we got to get your top 4, bottom 3, but we're technically only at the beginning of your hour. So I mean,
Yes.
as long as you don't kick any of the rest of these guys out, they're welcome to stay. But first we have our 7 a.m. UK time giveaway, our 2 a.m. Eastern time giveaway, which is yet another Ruth Beck print. Ruth herself will be joining us in an hour. In less than an hour, and I'm looking forward to that as the European audience wake up. But we are going to give away a Ruth Beck art print, and the Ruth Beck art print that we are giving away now is Fergus. Can you identify this for us?
That is the North Bank, isn't it? The old North Bank, is it?
It's the stairwell, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that the car park at Fergus's dealership?
I,
No, it's
Gabe,
there's a building in
Gabe,
Chicago that looks like this.
I've known you 15 minutes.
See,
It might be the long.
Gabe. I've literally known Gabe only about 10 minutes longer than you have, Fergus, and yet his sense of humor is. I mean, I knew he would fit into any combination of people we've had on this podcast. So
It was a long 10 minutes, to be fair. It was a
It
long
was.
10 minutes.
it was long. I mean, I remember 10 minutes of it. I'm pretty sure. So we're gonna give this away. The winner of the Ruth Beck art car park picture is what we're gonna call it. Let's see, car park.
I'm sure she'll love you for that.
Well, this is why I'm getting this out of the way before she comes on.
She hops on.
The winner is.
I'm going to message her now.
She's excited to pod with Fergus.
That's
winner,
true.
the winner of the car park picture is. Let's have it. Where are you? Nick Canning. Now, Nick has already won a Ruth Beck art print, so he cannot win another one. So we're going to redraw. This is the first time we've had to redraw. I think during last year's podcast, the same guy won the first 3 prizes. That has not happened yet. I'm actually surprised about that. So let's try this again. Try number 2. The winner of the Ruth Beck art car park is Joseph Francina. Thank you,
How you
Joseph.
doing? How you doing, Joseph? How you doing?
I think this guy is one of Sebi's friends from the New York area, so I don't think you're that far off. Joseph Franchina, congratulations! You have won a Ruth Beck art print of debatably maybe a car park, maybe looking at the North Bank through a car park. We don't really know, but this is when you need Hoggy to explain to you the history of the Arsenal. But thank you very much for that. If you want to win, we are now in our, what are we in hour of? 12?
12, 13. Yeah.
11 to 12. Yeah.
This is hour 12. And that means there are 14 more giveaways because we're doing 26 total giveaways. But we skipped one already. So we're doing 15 more giveaways. Some of the really juicy ones are going to be new Arsenal kits, signed Arsenal kits, signed Arsenal memorabilia. So if you have not donated yet, you're going to want to get your donation in now because there's tons of really good stuff to still win. We have on this 24-hour period for this podcast so far raised just under $4,000. So we need another donation to push us over the 4,000 range. And our goal is to beat last year's record of $5,000 raised. So hopefully once the world starts waking up again, we'll get those things going again. So thank you to Ruth Beck. And now back to you, Fergus, for your top four.
Top four. I think
Fergus's top 40.
The top four has to be made up of Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, and Man City. The order
have to be.
I think they are the best four teams. I think Chelsea are in slight disarray at the moment, and exactly what Max said earlier. Man United, if they won't even finish in the European spot, I think they're cooked.
What you looking for, Fergus? They're back and cooked.
Cooked, yeah.
How many injuries? Like where does Tottenham go if one of those two guys gets hurt? I'm sorry, Richarlison is not enough to completely.
To be honest,
but
people like Max talked.
I know.
Max talked about how they strengthened. I think they've added depth to their squad. I think Richarlison is a good buy, but he's not anywhere nearly as good as Jesus or Zinchenko. I thought we could challenge for third before I went to the game on Saturday. And as I was sitting watching the game in club on Saturday, I thought, yeah, we're definitely going to give them a run for their money. And then as we just got better and better, I know it's pre-season, I know I'm getting overexcited, I know I consumed loads of beer, but I think we're looking really, really good. I think somebody mentioned on here we need an extra midfielder, Tielemans or somebody like that. I don't think we need left-back cover because we've got the Swiss Army knife in Zinchenko who can play everywhere. So I think we're covered there. We could do it right-back cover. But I think, with this, the starting...
I just asked you who your top four is.
The start. It's called context, Mike.
Okay.
The start.
You've got an hour on the show. He's going to use the whole.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I am. Yeah. The start of our season allows us to be top of the league by the time we meet Spurs on the 1st of October, because every one of those games are extremely winnable. So it's really hard to predict, but I'll go for us to be third, but I think we could push on further than that. So it's probably City retaining the title, Liverpool failing yet again, and I'll delight in that. Us finishing above Spurs for the first time in 6-7 years, which will be a delight, and I'll be running around with hanging out and everything else. Down the bottom, I'm with Gabe. I think Everton
you'll run around with whatever hanging out that I say that you're going to have hanging.
Mate, if it hangs out, I'll be very happy. I'm going Everton, Leeds, and Watford to go down.
Everton, Watford. That's a first. Okay. We've had no Watford.
Watford aren't even in the Premier League, are they?
Watford aren't in the Prem next season.
Yeah.
They went down the end of this season.
Sorry, I meant to say Wolves. I meant to say Wolves.
Bad. They're going to go down again.
Yeah. Well, that's what who was it at the beginning of the podcast that said Norwich was going down, and I said they went down, and they said no, they're going down again. Second consecutive Wolves. Gabe said Wolves just because they're already at the bottom in the table right now.
But also, I did think about it lots, so maybe.
You thought about it long time?
Yeah, I thought about it really long time.
Solid 5 seconds.
We've
Long
got
5
two
seconds,
Americans
for sure.
We've got two Americans
not
on
the
here.
first time I've heard
Do you
that.
think Ted Lasso can be a success at Leeds?
At least.
Ted Lasso itself, yes. Marshall, no.
Marshall.
Is that, wait,
Marshall.
what's his
Marshall
March.
Mathers.
March?
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Marshall.
Thank you, Mike. Took the heat off me.
I'll take Ted Lasso though.
Call me a Trout, but I'm not letting you say Marshall. And a little bit baby fat. By the way, for those of you, since we're now like almost half a day away from when these moments happen, name another podcast that could get an Arsenal legend, and I don't use that word lightly, to do this. In fact, he came up with the idea of kind of a this is our new goal celebration of a love triangle.
Love it.
With Lee Dixon, and I put that up there because I keep seeing every time we put a comment up, you end up seeing Goofy Andy in the bottom of the screen. When we put up a comment like, well, that one is not a good example, but like that, you get to see Andy's chin. Your prediction, other than the next rollout of the 2023 BMW is going to knock people's socks off, your prediction. Oh wait, that's not a used car though. That would be a new car.
Fergus is a used car salesman, Mike.
That's true.
Doesn't
Yeah.
do the new stuff.
That's true. I forgot.
Brand new,
So did I.
pre-owned.
By the way, we ended up not getting a BMW. We ended up getting a Mustang convertible, which is ready now. I get to pick it up as soon as I'm out of whatever we call it.
I left when you mentioned Ford.
Yeah, sorry about that. I've never bought American before. Your out of whack left field prediction of something that people wouldn't think would happen, but will, in your mind.
The Arteta out campaign will stop.
Bollocks.
And what will it be replaced with?
Impossible.
A big fat guy with a ginger beard. Oh no, he exists.
What cuts deeper, the ginger part or the fat guy?
Well, he's got an upside down head as well.
Yeah.
And he's responsible for
That was
He's
me.
responsible for being able to attend 95% of the Arsenal games I've been to over the last 5 years. So there is that.
I tell you what's not left field, but I think it's going to be a fact this year. There was a video I sent out to all the season ticket holders saying they sold out every season ticket this season, and they've also upped the number of season tickets to something like 45,000. But
is that because
Leicester,
of the safe lap sitting thing that they're doing, where now two people can stack it on the same seat and they can?
No, that stops next year. At the moment, there's 5 per seat in the North Bank. The thing that I think might happen is every game sells out within 30 minutes because Leicester and Fulham sold out within 10 minutes to red and silver members.
Well, there's quite a controversy. Maybe you can speak to this because we might as well speak to it here. With the away tickets, I'm reading on multiple websites that away tickets seem to be either being held back or going to less than deserving people for resale. And I know it's a complicated subject, but you know what I'm referring to, right?
Yeah.
Are people justified in being upset?
My sidekick and good friend Trev is absolutely fuming. He can't do as many aways this season for various different reasons, but he's got friends who have been to every away game for 20, 30 years. There is only a small allocation at Bournemouth. But
Bournemouth is an extreme example.
No. But I'm saying there is only a small allocation, but they couldn't get tickets to Bournemouth away. It is Palace.
Meanwhile, you're seeing them on certain resale sites for disgusting price.
Well, that was the thing that wound him up even more. And he did want to track down somebody, but we shan't name the ginger guy. But he did. So he was asking how people are getting tickets, and there are people who are fortunate enough to have connections and stuff, but they should be equal, especially when it comes to away tickets. And I think it should be rewarded by the effort that you've put in the past, not just because you know somebody.
Yeah, well, I agree. Even though that works counter to my purposes, but it's just such a strange thing because Mikey here in the States. I mean, like if you want to go to an away game, you just buy tickets. I mean, it's in you sit in the other team section. You don't get your ass kicked unless you do. But yeah. So yeah, Max, we Eoin wants.
How many do you want?
Owen would like
that's
to know.
last season.
Yeah, so that was during a different podcast, or was that during the Pod-A-Thon that your wife was like her placenta was exiting her body?
That was a different podcast.
Yeah, I thought that was a different podcast, but yeah. So he's been wondering. He's had 2 kids in the meantime, and Mike's
no, definitely one definitely appeared. It was not black, which was a fear because it's definitely mine.
Steve and I are thinking the exact same thing right now. By the way,
I had a name picked out if it had and it was going to be Reginald because I just thought just the widest.
Should have called him Money. Called it Money.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Manny.
I was worried about Steve.
Reggie.
I was worried that Manny had caught a flight over and slipped her a length.
Call it Scunny.
Cut him off.
Oh my God. This is exactly how I hope this hour would go. It's like a combination of just random fellows who all are not random to each other anymore. Gabe, this is going to be.
I know it's a bit odd, right?
This is going to be
a bit odd. Yeah, go on.
This is going to be your hour now. From even when you're in England, and not in Australia where it's the middle of the afternoon, you'll be doing the 7 a.m. hour on the Pod-A-Thons because this is the most enjoyable midway point for me.
Oh mate, I don't know if I'm going to be able to drink as much at 7 a.m. But I'll give it my best shot. Can I ask a serious Arsenal related question? I know it's a bit off brand, but
bad panel, but go ahead.
Exactly. It looks like Lucas Torreira has gone to Galatasaray, right? It looks like it's all agreed. Like what, 5.5 million euros plus 1.5 in add-ons?
It's money, which apparently we aren't able to get normally. So
is it money though? Is it money? Like what do we like? When I saw Lucas Torreira score that goal against Tottenham, I was like, "This is our midfield for years." What a guy! What a man! What a tiny little legend!
Oh, I love him. I still love him.
It's just so mad how quickly it's gone downhill. Like it's just.
I was talking to some people last night about this.
Wasn't it? He didn't like England. That was primarily the reason. It wasn't footballing reasons. He couldn't.
Well, he was also, after that goal, I think Emery decided that he was a creative advance.
Yeah, he was a number 10, wasn't he?
He pushed him to an 8 to 10. Yeah, that's what ruined him.
What I didn't get about Torreira was even after Unai left, he 0 chances with Arteta.
That's
what I didn't get. So Arteta's all about like training.
But do you think?
But he got 0. He did not.
Do you think that's because he knew? Do you think that's not because of? Not even so much that the fact that Arteta knew he didn't want to be in England. So even if he was performing and he knew he didn't want to be there, and Arteta has said outright since the start, if you do not want to be at this club, then you will not be at this club.
I think that's...
Arteta wished to work with Torreira. I think there was always indications that he liked him and that he wanted him to sort of go away and then come back. But
I have to say it because I haven't heard it said anywhere else, and it is, I get the homesickness because he had a parent that died, didn't he? I think his mum died.
Gabe, he was homesick.
Just let me finish his thought though, because
he was homesick for Italy.
He had a parent that died, and then and that's awful. And you want to be back home. I think he was given compassionate leave. The same thing happened to William Saliba, and he never kicked up a fuss. He went on loan. He's come back now. Again, awful things to happen to both of them, but that's the difference between the two. William Saliba.
That didn't happen with Saliba. Arteta didn't rate Saliba. What are you on about?
No, because I'm saying he had a parent died. Saliba had a parent who died, and he was sent home.
Yeah, Steve was being sarcastic. And people try to read into this Arteta Torreira thing as though they didn't ever have a conversation, and Arteta's were just formed based on how Unai Emery treated him and how he appeared. Like I'm sure they said, "Do you want to be a part of this team?" Not saying that you can be, but do you want to be a part of this club? Not really. Okay, goodbye.
He had an issue when he first went to Italy as well. He was homesick for Uruguay. He seems to be very much a homeboy, and he just. So
Turkey should be great for him then.
Why sign for Arsenal?
Great.
He's Galatasaray, the new West Ham of the 1990s.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know.
Very odd, but I was really he's the one that got away from me in midfield. I really thought he was going to change everything. I was like,
Gabe, I think everyone's got that guy in their mind who they looked at and they were like, this is the guy. When you create content, the funny thing is you're on record for saying specific, like certain things. You know, my one, like the Torreira thing, you know, I really liked Torreira. I always thought the game was moving a little bit away from Torreira, that kind of small bulldog. And it was moving more towards these, you know, big, athletic, lung-busting, breaking midfielders. You know, but everyone's got their funny little nuances. Like, you know, my two were...
I have two.
I said on a podcast, I think it was 2 seasons ago, Arsenal's future midfield two, their dual pivot 8s were Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Guendouzi. And I saw those two as like archetypal modern players who would fit in, who would come into the team. You know, and Guendouzi, either through, you know, complete immaturity or Arteta's lack of desire to work with someone and change them. Within the modern scope of football, you don't have the time to do that. Yeah. You've either got someone on board or you don't get someone on board because you're going to get sacked next week. So, you know, it's interesting. Everyone's got their little nuanced people.
My two were in 2016-17, which was our first full season of podcasting before the video. I was so enamored by Hector Bellerin that I called him a 70 million pound player.
I remember this. Yes.
This was before his first ankle injury, before the North London Derby ankle injury in November. This was, I think we were like season 1, episode 5, and I was calling him like an unsellable 70 million pound player. And my second one was after the Aston Villa game, the comeback where we were down 2 and came back and scored 3. I think, which was like September 2019 or something like that. I said Guendouzi was the future captain of Arsenal Football Club because
said that on a podcast
because of his leadership skills and his passion.
Yeah, I never went that far, lads. I never went that far. Just Guendouzi. Oh, he always just.
That's the problem with having somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 600 hours of recorded conversation about Arsenal and knowing nothing about Arsenal.
Yeah, I have to apologise, by the way, for wrestling this back towards like actual football stuff. We were talking about used cars, having a great time.
No. We need somebody to. I'm supposed to be hosting this thing. Mike's supposed to be a host, and none of us are doing it. So, Gabe, that's all you. Now, Fergus, you've been on a lot of podcasts. What's the stupidest thing you ever said?
Oh, Jesus.
Can we try
it the other way? Can we ask us what's the most intelligent thing I said? Because it's probably a very limited.
Because I don't want 20 minutes of dead air. So while you try to think of something.
Well, to be honest, I don't think I can't think of anything stupid except for that very drunken one where I let my filters go, which was really funny about some dickhead slapping and stuff like that. That was just like unreal. But no, I maintained my position about Bellerin. I said he couldn't cross himself in church if he tried. And Guendouzi, rather than Guendouzi, is what I'd always called Guendouzi. I like Guendouzi for some of his tenacity, but I didn't like his lack of self-control and his disrespect for referees, the way he used to flap around and dive on the ground.
Didn't he? He was such a diver.
He was the one that, that's something other teams do. And then Guendouzi was like,
Owen, I know where you love.
You just couldn't defend Guendouzi when he dove. I'm like, Arsenal players don't do that. Spurs players do that. Richarlison does that. Zaha does that. But then when Guendouzi did it, it was like you're undermining our high ground right here, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Sophie is up. It's
I
up.
thought
It's 11:30 at night.
I thought Socrates was a decent center back when he first started for this.
He was.
I don't. Oh, well, here's one that's considered.
Well,
like
I have another one that you just reminded me of. But go.
So here's like a hot take for a lot of people, but I truly believe David Luiz was a great. Like he did a really good job. Did a great job. A great job. I'll say it like that. I don't think he's as
Somebody
bad
killed
as...
a Mexican.
Awful take. That is the sweatiest, coldest take.
I once said that Lacazette reminded me of Alan Shearer.
Oh, fucking hell.
Okay,
I
remember
end the show. Max wins.
Because he sits on a sofa every week.
It was after he scored that cracker against, was it Tottenham? He scored the absolute belter against?
Yeah.
Lacazette?
Yeah.
And my brother and I were doing the Ask Bros OG, the original Ask Bros OG, and we had this long-winded conversation about, strikers who didn't care about placement, and they just hit it as hard as they could, and they'd put the keeper in the back of the net with the ball. And doesn't he remind you of Alan Shearer? And he should be starting over Aubameyang. And then he proceeded to do absolutely fucking none of that, ever.
What a guy.
Do you remember when? I mean, this isn't a comment that I made, but do you remember when? Who was it? Fabianski that threw the ball into his own net, defending a corner kick or something. Was it him?
I remember Ospina standing.
No, it was
behind
Ospina.
the
It was
line.
David Ospina.
He stood behind the line and he was like, "I'm going to catch this. Look, I caught it." And it's like, "You're in the net, dickhead.
Yeah, no,
You're
it
in
went
the
from
net. Get out of the net.
You're in the net,
like a yard inside."
No,
but
but
listen,
as bad as do you know what I mean?
As bad as Fabianski was, Almunia, that game against West Brom, I walked out. Is one of the only games I've ever walked out from.
Yeah, Almunia was not is what they call in the industry not good.
Shit.
The other comment that I believe that I made, because I certainly remember believing this at the time, was that I thought we had made an absolutely smashing free transfer signing in Stefan Lichtsteiner. I was so excited that man was coming to our club.
I did read a thing saying that he was phenomenal back of house for that period of time with him.
Was he?
That Lichtsteiner was just outstanding back of
because
house.
that's when we needed like the man whose place he essentially took, Bellerin. It was the yin and the yang of what Arsenal was. It was like we have no steel. We have Guendouzi, who is who's not steel. He's just a maniac. But we have no like dark arts kind of, and that's what Socrates and Lichtsteiner, I was buying into the old experienced.
I know what you mean. You do
dark
expect
arts kind of guys.
You expect leadership from a guy who is 400 years old.
Yes, and then when you actually see them on the pitch, you're like, his leadership, he could lead all he wants. He's 400 years old.
I know. I couldn't believe they let him on with that wheelchair, just up and down, up and down.
It was crazy. But
he could still cross the ball better than Bellerin.
Gabe, it wasn't his wheelchair. It was Karlstrom's wheelchair that just had it.
That he borrowed from Wilshere.
It was hilarious though because I used to go head to head with Lee Judges all the time about Lichtsteiner because he couldn't pronounce the name. So, Lichtenstein was constantly what he would say, and he would just constantly go on and on and on, worse than Sophie about Callum Chambers, and I'm only saying that because she's here. But like he would go on and on and on about it. So the two of us end up sitting in Jack Stevenson's amazing seats for a League Cup game against Blackpool, I think on Halloween a couple of years ago. And who scores his one and only goal for the Arsenal that entire career of his at the Arsenal, which was one season? Stefan fucking Lichtsteiner. And I have video of myself essentially sitting on Lee, like jumping on him. It was.
Could you?
Sophia's got a point of order. Arsenal. Socrates, isn't it? So
Socrates. Yeah.
there we
Could
go.
you imagine Arsenal
Gra.
in today's day and age signing a 37-year-old? Correct me if I'm wrong. He was 37 when he came to us.
Socrates?
So no.
No. Lichtsteiner? I thought he was maybe 34 or something.
90% sure he was 37, but maybe I've made
He's
that up.
38 now, so I don't think.
Yeah,
but,
he was 34.
He's
but
well,
no, I couldn't imagine that.
He was 34 going
Still.
on 90.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, listen to this.
tell you what.
Stefan Lichtsteiner. This is his Wikipedia. Stefan Lichtsteiner is a Swiss former professional footballer, an attacking right back or wing back. He was known for his energetic runs down the right wing, as well as his stamina and athleticism, which earned him the nicknames Forrest Gump and the Swiss Express. So,
I mean, in
I'm
Italy,
not having
in
that.
Italy,
I'm not having
that.
that.
was all true. And Juventus,
Swiss
he was
Express.
like, in
yeah,
Juve,
we didn't get we got more Forrest Gump than Swiss Express, I think.
I think we got
we
more
you're not talking
Forrest.
about the running ability.
We got the Virgin train service to somewhere in the northwest.
Southeastern from Margate to London.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
speaking about the dark arts, we got Ben White now, babyface Ben White, that does some shitty things himself. Like I think I saw it twice this past season where he's like in the middle of the.
He robbed the liquor store a couple weeks ago. That was pretty.
He robbed the liquor store, but it was like, so somebody got the best of him. He was like halfway through the line, and he just blatantly just trips the dude, and he like looks around like, and like nothing gets called, and I'm here just laughing my ass off because he's getting away with these calls. So Ben White has a touch.
He
of the
was
shit house.
he was as woeful. Was it the Newcastle game? Where they stitched him up and put him in, and he clearly was not fit to be out there.
Yeah,
both of the goals that Newcastle scored were on him not being fit, not necessarily on him making bad decisions. Although the bad decisions came because he was a step or two slow. Or actually, it was one goal that almost happened, an early free kick, and then the goal that ended up being an own goal off of him. If he was fit, that would not have happened.
I expect in about 2 years' time, Ben White will go on sale for 50% off at a bank holiday weekend. Do you know when they do those leather sofa sales? Because the amount of sun tanning the guy is doing is...
Used sofa salesman.
I've got an interesting one for the group, for the room. Overrated, underrated, current squad. One player who's overrated and one player who's underrated.
Steve, go.
Okay. Overrated, I would say... At the moment, I'm going Saliba. I think a couple of times in pre-season and a couple of times last year for France, his pace got him out of a shitty situation, and just his size to be able to get his shoulder into the man. But his positioning was poor. He didn't quite read the game, but the way he managed to use his pace and get his inside shoulder inside the man has got him out of the issue. You know, in the Premier League, if he does that against a Zaha or a Salah, they go over penalty all day long.
Right.
So
Underrated?
Underrated. I am still going with the Egyptian king. I am still going with Mohamed El
Water
Neni.
carrier.
Boom! Yeah. I've said it for years. And if he wasn't my guy, I would go with my other guy, which is Mr. Eddie Nketiah, which was actually one of the ones I was going to mention when you were talking about players. I
think that might be the first time it's been brought up on this podcast. But it's going to be brought up a lot more.
Reece Nelson is underrated, but at the same time, he hasn't done anything to be rated.
Proper rating.
That's it. He's not done anything to be rated yet.
I guess overrated, underrated.
Overrated Eddie Nketiah. He's too lightweight, and he's overrated by the Arsenal PLC Arteta.
By me.
Underrated. Well, I think his rating has probably increased a lot on the back of last season, but he came in with people slagging him off that he's been relegated twice, in goal, between the sticks, and Ramsdale.
You're saying he's overrated?
No.
You're saying he's underrated?
Yeah, sorry. So underrated is Eddie Nketiah. I think he's too lightweight in that, and the person who's underappreciated is Ramsdale.
Okay. Who's next? Gabe.
Mike. Big Mike. Magic Mike. Go yours.
Okay. Go on, Mike.
I'm going to go. This is a little controversial, but overrated. I think he's not necessarily had the opportunity to prove himself to be the level that we now call him. And I think there was a little bit of flip over because we all thought he was nobody, didn't know who he was, came in, knocked our socks off. But I'm going to go overrated Tomiyasu. I think he
could get found out this season.
He could turn out to be what we think he is right now. he has no opportunity to exceed that this season because we've bigged him up to the point where I think he, so I mean, if we're talking about somebody who regresses to the mean potentially, as Arsenal players seem to kind of do after they impress in early doors, I would say Tomiyasu, although I certainly hope that isn't true. Underrated, just because right now he's rated about as low as he can be by people, and they haven't seen enough of him yet. Matt Turner. I think Matt's better than he's shown. He's certainly better than people think that he is based on.
Did you watch preseason?
I was at the games, and Matt's a commanding. He's a commanding person. Plus, I'm trying to.
If Matt Turner wasn't American, would you be saying the same?
I wouldn't know the same things about him I would know as much about Matt Turner if he wasn't American and I wasn't American. I would know the same amount as I would about Alex Runnerson.
Preach.
Yeah.
So
for me, underrated Eddie Nketiah. I think he.
I almost said him.
I think he will have a breakthrough.
Chewed my dick off every bloody week. For saying exactly what people are seeing now. I saw it 4 years ago, and I'm not going to say I told you so.
We had conversations about this, but I don't think Eddie did himself. I don't think Eddie did himself any favors.
No, but he didn't get the proper chances.
He missed shit goals when he had chances, like easy goals.
Doesn't matter what he did last season. Simply by playing with, training with, practicing with, and getting time on the pitch every once in a while with Gabriel Jesus, Eddie Nketiah is going to score double-digit Premier League goals this season, and then
I might break the bank. I might break the internet a little bit here, but I think Kieran Tierney is grossly overrated.
Oh, you know what? That's
grossly overrated. And I'll tell you why, just very quickly, because I don't want to go into it too deeply. But everyone sits there and says, "Oh, we don't have a centre forward," and I sit there and say to Kieran Tierney, "Stop fucking smashing high crosses into the box." Over and over and over and over again when there's no fucker there to receive it.
He's proved that he can cross the ball well, but we don't have a guy who can get on the end of it. Like if we had Giroud
you work with what you've got, Mike.
Well, I agree.
No one there to fucking head it. Why smash 40 fucking crosses into?
Well, yeah. If you're good at bicycle kicks, it doesn't mean you should do like 8 of them from the midfield strike. So,
it's more annoying because the only time he ever cut in, went in and banged it top right up with his right foot. It was like, just do that more.
Was that the goal against?
Do it more often, KT. I think because
he did it West Brom, in the snow.
Guys, and he had the Tesco bag, and he doesn't act like a footballer, and he works his fucking hole off. There's this bias towards him, like positive bias towards him. I can't think of more than 3 games where I've been like, when we used to do our 3-2-1s on the Ars Bros, KT very, very rarely picked up that much, and if he did, he'd pick it up in it.
There was a Europa League group stage game. There was a Europa League group stage game a couple seasons ago that he won on his own, or it might even have been a knockout game like against.
But you could say the same thing about Pepe
against like Rennes or something like
that. Pepe on his best day is, I think, the best, most pure striker that Arsenal have. Hits the ball better than anyone else.
How can you say Pepe underrated or overrated though? Because at this point, his rating is just kind of his rating is
exactly He's a 10 or a 2. He's a 10 or a 2.
I rate his left leg highly, but his right leg is absolute dog shit.
Mike Herz, who's your overrated, underrated?
Okay, this is gonna be painful. Ramsdale is overrated in my opinion. He leaves a shitload of like near post goals go in last season, and some of his the way he approaches some of the crosses drives me absolutely insane. Yeah. And their Copa del Rey run, Bellerin really left him down. And just to spice things up, I'm gonna agree with my man Dean in the live chat, and Granit Xhaka. And
underrated.
Underrated, yes. Underrated. Look, I know he has a mistake in him, but I really do feel like now that the group is coming together, he doesn't have to track. Yeah, speaking of Tierney, right? I mean, half the time Xhaka was moving to left back every time Tierney bombed up the left field. Mm-hmm. So my theory is we could see switch and Lynn Xhaka. So
Gabe, that's what your over and under. And then I want to go to a question, but I have to ask Soph if the question is okay, because as our one female viewer at the moment, I have to find out whether this is okay or not. But right, Gabe, over
If
under.
you're asking her, Mike, you already know the question. It's not.
So my overrated is going to be it's going to be Mo El Neni.
Overrated.
Yes, yeah.
What the?
Gabe wants to fight.
He played
Gabe wants to
three.
fight.
He played. He's been here for 5 years or something, right? He played 3.
And he's
games
never
last
let
season.
us down.
He's
Ever.
never
Let us down,
done
but it's
anything
occasional.
good. He's never done anything
Manchester
good.
United masterclass.
That
I
was
like
next
you.
to party.
Go,
That was next to party. The thing of my nightmares, my absolute nightmare scenario, and it could happen. This is why I still think we absolutely need a midfielder. Is to watch the 2 least complete players in the league next to each other in Granit Xhaka and Mo El Neni. We have one person that cannot pass forward in El Neni and Granit Xhaka who just can't turn. And between them, that's how many times have we seen that midfield and just been like, oh my God.
And then El Neni can pass
never-
forward. It just goes into the back of the net when he does it.
It's mad because El Neni scored a banger in preseason.
He's literally just lost another stone in rage.
In 5 years, he's done that, and everyone's like, "Oh, Nenny's pretty bloody good. What a good backup to
There's
party."
body fat just
People
coming out of
didn't
his
see it,
pores.
right?
Coming up in
People
steam.
didn't see it with El Neni. I'm steaming. People didn't see it with El Neni because he wasn't a 20, 30, 40 million pound player, right?
What are you,
People
Arsene
didn't
Wenger
see it
now?
with- People didn't see it with El Neni because he didn't play that often. But every time he did, he was the one player that would never let us down, always did the right thing. Could score a banger if need be. And I agree with you. I agree with you that he didn't do much, but he didn't let the team down when everyone else around him was.
For me, it's a very low bar not letting the team down. He didn't ever let the team up. You know, don't
but
just
there has
not
been
let
times.
the team down. That's not the bar, man. Just because you can pass
Gabe,
sideways.
El Neni is a late night kebab, right? If they charged you a tenner for it, it'd be shit.
He's
But
5
it's
a.m.
3
chicken.
quid, you're fucking drunk, and it does the job.
Yes, but then you go to if we're going to continue with that analogy, you know, you go out to a lovely restaurant. Let's say,
but are they open at 3
City
o'clock in
away.
the morning?
No, but it's not 3 o'clock in the morning. This is what I'm saying.
But at times it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and when it was, El Neni was there, and he was there. We were crying on his shoulder. Everything
exactly. We were all crying because he was all we had. No, we went to a lovely restaurant, which was City away, and we had to get served an absolute kebab. And it was just like, no, we don't need this. If we have an El Neni Xhaka midfield 2 for any length of this season, we won't be finishing in the top 4. We know that.
I
But
thought
anyway,
Glenn won.
let me get to my.
Who's your underrated for the season?
So my underrated for the team. That's interesting. Mo El Neni. No, it is probably Eddie Nketiah. He is he's incredible. The fact is he scored 5 goals in 8 games last season. We haven't seen him do anything. We haven't seen him in the team before or since.
He's crazy.
He's going to score double digits this game.
He's done the Mr. July thing again, except this time I feel like there's some real stuff behind it because of Gabriel.
When he went on loan to Leeds, he was scoring, and he was, but he wasn't. But he was behind. This is what I mean. None of it counts.
That's a big story.
We haven't seen the volume of evidence to know whether or not he is going to be amazing. But I think he will. I think he'll show.
There's a story about his attitude at Leeds that only the gerbil will know.
Yes, that's true. Speaking of 4 a.m. kebabs and food that tastes better, this quick video.
5 a.m. Royal Farms. Most of you will not know what Royal Farms is, but let me just explain to you what Royal Farms is. Chicken. Really good chicken. Especially 5 a.m. chicken. Pretty good chicken. I mean, I know a lot of chickens, and the chickens at 5 a.m.
I love your Scouse accent. Chicken.
So I apologize to this chicken.
If Mo El Neni is that 5 a.m.
I shall
chicken,
be eating.
then I'll take that.
Thighs. Big fan.
Fuck, I want some chicken.
The El Neni of chickens.
Royal Farms.
Can we, for this season, only refer to players based on what type of takeaway they are at what time? Yeah.
Thing is, on Nketiah, I've said this for years, and I've been slammed left, right, and centre by Max, Manny, Scunny, Mike, Fergus at times. What I've said about Nketiah,
not on El Neni.
at
Eddie,
times,
yes.
about Eddie. What I've said about Eddie is whenever he came into the side,
child has just appeared.
And whenever Eddie came into the side, generally it was either in an underperforming side with their underperforming players. William would come in, David Luiz would come in, Cedric would come in. El Neni, yes, El Neni would be El Neni and Guendouzi with Eddie up top with William and fucking Cedric, and he was playing amongst the shit within the shit. And he never got the real opportunity, and everyone talks about Balogun. And as much as I think Balogun is one for the future, he is not going to have a sustainable career at Arsenal. I don't think he will. I think the problem with Balogun is that everyone has gone, well, Aubameyang and Lacazette aren't performing. Eddie is shit. They already made their mind up. It's got to be Balogun. It's got to be Balogun. And everyone was screaming for Balogun. And this was a guy that was only
on that train 100%. And then I saw him play.
But this was a guy that was only just playing under 23 football. He was only just getting into the under 23 side.
Well, that's the problem. He's too good for under 23, but he's not nearly good enough.
He was scoring weapons in the under 23s. Yeah. He was scoring bangers every week.
So was Reece Nelson.
And people would argue that.
Was fucking unstoppable at under 23. He was the best.
And this is it. This is it. And so was Eddie. But as soon as you make that point for Eddie, they go, well, it's only under 23s. But yet they're screaming for Balogun every week. And it's like, well, this guy's only doing the under 23s.
Chuba Akpom was the best under 21 I have ever seen.
No, see, for me, it is Eddie. I saw Chuba. I saw, had a chubby for Eddie. I like Eddie, man. I really
Eddie's
like
sick,
him,
man. Eddie's sick.
I like how raw he is. I like the poacher. We don't have that instinctive finisher.
That's the problem,
and even
Steve.
when he was
meant to be a poacher, and last season he missed countless fucking open net opportunities. That header where it was open net,
but so did everybody else.
That was like his first game in the squad, though.
And once the team started to gel, and we went through the middle of the season, and we started to move forward, and then Eddie was needed up top. He came in, he did a job, he showed exactly how good he can be. And I'm not saying I want to see, because of the chances missed, I'm not saying he should be or could be our starting striker for a whole season. But is he good enough to be second or third within this squad and playing the cups and playing Europa?
Steve, I agree with you. I had him as my underrated, but this is what I don't want Eddie to end up with. When you're hammered pissed in a nightclub and you decide that this particular person, this particular bird is like the best, the absolute best that could ever. I don't want to wake up in the morning, Steve, and look over at Eddie and go, oh, I've got fucking herpes. I've definitely got herpes.
When you realise it's Mo El Neni instead of Eddie and Ketia, you're like,
or as I said earlier in the podcast,
both of them.
The night,
see that about his movement is not. It's just that's like 2-3 seasons ago. Like he presses, he runs, he goes at everything.
I actually I agree with you, Steve, and I disagree with you, Sophie, that he offers the team nothing when he's not goal poaching.
Yeah.
The biggest single thing that will change that impression of him is Gabriel Jesus. He is one of the players.
I'm hoping.
Whether they're on the pitch at the same time, which we have seen, or whether they're not, Eddie Nketiah is going to be a completely different player this season. I'm getting back in his shopping cart where I was a few years ago, despite Tom Canton's protestations. Nketiah is going to be a more well-rounded player. I guarantee.
Yeah, but we do need a third striker.
Europa League game.
Not you, Steve.
We need a third striker.
And he'll score 15 goals.
Steve Fahili in the comments was like, rates Nketiah, but doesn't rate El Neni. The difference is Nketiah is 21, 22, and El Neni's past it. He's not going to get any better.
No,
he's not going to get any better. What we saw from El Neni, what we saw from Nketiah was probably the same level of performances we saw from El Neni. The difference is the curve is upwards.
Nketiah's got that ceiling.
Nketiah's got that ceiling. He's not going to get any better. He's only going to get worse, and it's not good.
But we do need a third striker, don't we, guys? Because if Jesus goes down, and we have only got we have only got Eddie. We are semi-fucked. Because then who? I do. But I don't think. I think Martinelli, as good as he is, and I've said before, he can play down the middle, and he can play down the middle, but he isn't going to offer us that same threat that he's given us on that left-hand side now.
Third choice, and Martinelli provides us with the ability to maybe not have to go into the market and buy a Lucas Perez to cover a backup position.
Yeah.
Where we will run into problems is if something happens to Jesus and we end up with a kebab up front. That's where we're going to run into problems.
And I think Nketiah's breakout season comes as a result of playing with a healthy Gabby Jesus. I agree with 100%, and whether this means that we should sign a third, I would agree with that. I agree 100% that if he is the man, because God, please don't let this happen. But if Jesus is out for a long period of time, we are fucked. And we do need to act in January if that happens.
Because everyone knows you have a kebab more than 2 or 3 times a week, you've got the shits.
You can't have a kebab every night. You can bring a kebab in. You can't have a kebab every night. Otherwise, you'll be back to being Big Steve.
I think there's a stroke of genius. I think they extended his contract. He's going to have a good season. But once we qualify back to Champions League, there's going to be another Jesus caliber striker coming in. Eddie's not going to be third. He's not going to like being third striker. We are going to sell him, and we're going to make a lot of money off.
I think he'll then play more in the league.
That or we extend Eddie and then are able to actually sell him for 25 million or something.
That's what I'm saying. The extension is already there.
People will start saying, like they have at Liverpool and Man City, just not good enough to make it in Arsenal's first team is good enough for us to spend 20 or 30 mil on.
Well, if we're lucky, we might get 2, maybe even 3 million for him on a 5-year contract in a couple of years. Given the way our selling's gone,
I think we're towards the end.
I think that time is gone. I think that time's
do you
gone.
think?
I think as an operation, if you look at our operations management, I think that time is gone. We're much more connected to our line of fit now. We know where our end point is, how we get there, and what we're doing. I think for a couple of years,
I think you're right.
Spoke about that.
I think it's gutting to see
about the rejuvenating of the squad and upping the value of the squad. And he mentioned about how he thought it was even paying off players. He referred to it as a investment in order to not block other players in those spaces. So similar to what Mike and Max said, I think this might potentially be the last year. Assuming Pepe leaves, assuming Pepe leaves, I am still convinced that if Pepe leaves the club, he's going to go out on loan and we're going to pay like at least 50% of his wages. Yeah, I still truly believe that, but I think Pep is the last one out of that group. Yeah. I truly believe Bellerin's going to probably leave. Pep and Torreira is going to leave. He's already in that boat. I think Elneny, they gave him the 1-year extension, and they're thinking maybe just one more year for Sambi to put on. I mean, if you guys noticed, like Martinelli, Eddie Nketiah, and even Saka did it. They went through this transitional year where they put on like fucking 10, 20 pounds of muscle. I think it's going to be the same thing with Sambi, because Sambi technically is sound, but lots of times when he played, we saw him get knocked off the ball fairly easily.
Speaking of getting knocked off, we have to knock off Max. Max, you've been with us for almost 2 hours. Appreciate it. Love
Max,
you, my friend.
What a pleasure, dude. Next year. See you next year, dude.
Lovely to meet you, mate. I'll see you in London.
We're actually going to cut Max. We're going to cut Steve and Gabe, and bring on Ruth in just a second. But Gabe, let us know your Twitter at BeatMonkeyG. Well, actually, Max first at the Arse Brothers. Does that work?
This year, yeah, we took a bit of time off because Darren, my counterpart, got quite unwell, but he seems to have come out the other side of it at the moment. So we'll be back at minimum doing a monthly. We may do a weekly. We'll definitely do a monthly. But head over to the Arse Brothers if you like a weird combination of analytics and dick jokes that come together. They scissor.
There's no better.
Scissor timbers.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate you joining us. Take care, buddy.
Steve, I really wish Ruth wasn't in the back now for that.
I know. I'm like, I've completely changed my attitude on the language now that we're doing, and because Mike and I are the ones that can see that Ruth is waiting to come on. So, Steve, I love you, my friend. Take care. I can't wait to see
you guys next month. Well, this month.
I'll see less of you next month than I have in the past. Take care, bud.
Later.
And Gabe, let's be in
always
touch.
A pleasure.
We're gonna make this thing happen.
Absolutely, and yeah, let's all remember, we all love a good heated debate, but we're all fans at the end of the day, and there's going to be some people who are idiots, but We can
Before
ignore
you
them.
go-
And we can have good chats.
And I apologize. For
Before
being
you
an
go,
idiot.
Gabe, best European city to visit. Go on. Best European city. One hit.
Oh, where did I
Mexico.
go recently? I can't remember. It's in the Czech Republic somewhere. Czech
Prague?
Republic's very cheap.
Kutna-Hora. Have you been to Kutna-Hora, the House of Bones, the Church of Bones?
That
That's
doesn't.
just-
That
that's not
sounds
very
very.
nice.
That doesn't
Check,
sound
check,
very
check it out.
cool.
Check it out. Amazing. UNESCO cathedral there, and a church which is all inside is all made out of human bones. Really check it out.
I'm scared of what's going to come up when I Google that. But guys, have a good one.
Take
Not
my friend.
allowed to
Take care.